Luke 6. On a Sabbath, while he was going through the grain fields, his disciples plucked and ate some heads of grain, rubbing them in their hands. But some of the Pharisees said, "Why are you doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath?" And Jesus answered them, "Have you not read what David did when he was hungry, he and those who were with him? How he entered the house of God and took and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and also gave it to those with him? And he said to them, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." On another Sabbath he entered the synagogue and was teaching, and a man was there whose right hand was withered. And the scribes and the Pharisees watched him to see whether he would heal on the Sabbath, so that they might find a reason to accuse him. But he knew their thoughts, and he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come and stand here." And he rose and stood there. And Jesus said to them, "I ask you, is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to destroy it?" And after looking around at them all, he said to him, "Stretch out your hand." And he did so, and his hand was restored. But they were filled with fury and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. In these days he went out to the mountain to pray, and all night he continued in prayer to God. And when day came, he called his disciples, and chose from them 12, whom he named apostles: Simon, who he named Peter, and Andrew his brother, and James and John, and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, and James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon who was called the Zealot, and Judas the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. And he came down with them, and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples, and a great multitude of people from all Judea and Jerusalem and the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon, who came to hear him and to be healed of their diseases. And those who were troubled with unclean spirits were cured. And all the crowd sought to touch him, for power came out from him and healed them all. And he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you shall be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, and when they exclude you, and revile you, and spurn your name as evil on the account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for so their fathers did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you shall be hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Woe to you when all people speak well of you, for so their fathers did to the false prophets. But I say to you who hear, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who abuse you. To one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from one who takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic either. Give to everyone who begs from you, and from one who takes away your goods, do not demand them back. And as you wish that others would do to you, so do so to them. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those from whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies, and do good, and lend. Expect nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. He also told them a parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Will they not both fall into a pit? A disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me take out the speck that is in your eye," when you yourself do not see the log that is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take out the speck that is in your brother's eye. For no good tree bears bad fruit, nor again does a bad tree bear good fruit. For each tree is known by its own fruit. For figs are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor are grapes picked from a bramble bush. The good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good, and the evil person out of the evil treasure produces evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house, who dug deep and laid the foundation on the rock. And when a flood arose, the stream broke against that house and could not shake it, because it had been well built. But the one who hears and does not do them is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. When the stream broke against it, immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great. Welcome back to today's reading in Luke chapter 6. As you just heard me read, there's a lot in this chapter. We don't have a lot of time today, just about 3.5 minutes for me to explain what I find so interesting and exciting about this passage. So one thing, I'm not going to deal with the Lord of the Sabbath discussion, but on the Sabbath, because I think you can read that and you can understand exactly what's said there. I think it's fairly clear. But this issue of the man with the withered hand and whether or not Jesus would do good to heal someone on the Sabbath. Now, they just got done arguing about whether or not it was okay to walk up through a grain field, run your finger up the stalk, take those little grains and pop them in your mouth, if that was work for the Sabbath that we ought not do. And so Jesus does confront some of that, but I think this story here is a little bit more challenging because they watch Jesus, that is the Pharisees do, to see if Jesus is going to heal someone on the Sabbath. They know he can heal people. They know he's there on the Sabbath. They know he teaches in the synagogues, and he often has very difficult things for them to say and for them to understand. And yet here he is healing someone. And it's interesting because it says he knew their thoughts. And then knowing their thoughts, that they were questioning what should be done here, he says, come over here, stretch out your hand. He doesn't touch him. He doesn't say, be healed. He says, stretch out your hand. Well, he stretches out his hand, and it is a withered hand. Now, this story may not be very exciting to a lot of people, but I have a 12-year-old son with cerebral palsy and epilepsy. And so Josiah, whose name means Yahweh or Jehovah has healed, or is a healer, does still struggle. He had a stroke when he was in the womb, and he has had difficulty his entire life, including epileptic seizures, which can be pretty severe at times and cause hospitalization. So we have, this is a very close thing to me, but I want to tell an interesting thing. This is not a miracle. It's the complexity of how God has made the human body and God's grace to show us as parents, to give us hope, kind of like this healing. So when Josiah was born, he'd already had a stroke in the womb, as far as we understand. So as he developed, we noticed more and more the weakness on the left side of his face, left side of his hand, his legs. The entire left side of his body is very affected. So when I hear withered hand, in this case for Josiah, his hand when he was a baby, his thumb was stuck here, he has a strange joint here, and his fingers are folded around like that. So he had a firm, tight grip for a long time. So this was a contracture, like we can talk about medical terminology nowadays, but one night when he was about 2 years old, I had only seen his hand like this his entire life, and there was a fly landing on his face when he was asleep. And when he was asleep, his left hand went up there and it flicked that little fly off, and it moved. Every single finger moved. The joints moved, the wrist work. If you want to learn more about Josiah's story, what God is currently doing in and through him, and what God has done in the past, and what we're learning about, we would love to have you come over to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God here on YouTube, my wife's channel, kind of our family channel. There's lots more about Josiah's journey there. And tomorrow we'll come back to talk about Luke chapter 7. But today, I just want you to marvel and look at what God does sometimes to just blow our minds and show that he loves us and he is powerful over all of his creation. We'll see you tomorrow.